You know what's cool? New video games. And yes, I did not make one of these for the month of May when it came to new Nintendo Switch games, but May was kind of dry. June, however, comes back with a vengeance though. There are a ton of really high quality looking games coming to the Nintendo Switch, and your wallet will be weeping. So I hope you saved up your May money for the month of June because you got a lot of stuff to buy. If this is your first time on the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button, like, comment, share, turn on the bell notification, all that YouTube crap. Also, give me some suggestions in the comment section down below if I missed any games that are on your radar. But without any further ado, let's talk about the banger titles coming to the Nintendo Switch in the month of June. On June 10th, we have two games coming out that I definitely want to highlight. The first being a game that I wasn't really super familiar with, and that's Metal Max Xeno Reborn. So you're kind of getting a Xeno game in the month of June. It's just not Xeno Blade. But this game actually looks kind of cool. It looks like a quirky RPG, but I like the fact that it's like based on like a bus and like you're taking out big tanks. I don't know what the hell is going on in this trailer, but there's like a dog because, you know, the dog can fight alongside of you and stuff. I'm sure there is like some sort of backstory with this game, like maybe an anime or something. I don't know. I wasn't digging deep into this. I was just looking at it on the surface level from this trailer, and on the surface level, it honestly looks pretty cool. Metal Max Xeno Reborn comes out on June 10th, and also on that same day, well, we have arguably the bigger of the two titles, and that is Mario Strikers Battle League. Now, I am a huge fan of the Mario Strikers games. I think they're some of the most underrated games on Nintendo platforms because they are indeed very fun. And the fact that this game seems to have a strong emphasis on online play is very impressive to me. I am a little bit concerned that we are going to have that trickle effect where Nintendo likes to do this with their sports games, where it's kind of like almost, you know, a sampling at the start of the game and then they roll out new characters like a month later and stuff like that and give you this little drip feed of new content for the game. That is a little bit concerning, but even if that is indeed the case, I feel like the gameplay in Mario Strikers games is fun enough to be able to look past that. Mario Strikers Battle League also comes out on June 10th and is definitely a game I'm looking forward to playing. On June 16th, F-Zero fans should be excited because Redout 2 is coming out, and well, I mean, it pretty much looks like F-Zero and Wipeout, and maybe even a bit of Fast RMX. Like, it's just a fast, futuristic racing game, and I like these styles of games. I don't know that you could really command a full-on price point for them in 2022, but you know, games like this are usually around the $40 price point, and for fans of futuristic racing games, I think these are really fun. You know, they're fast-paced, you have to rely on your reflexes. The game itself looks very good. I am interested to see how the Nintendo Switch port of this game holds up, but I think if it's a solid port of the game, I think this could potentially be very successful because of the fact that, well, you don't have F-Zero on your Switch unless you're playing the SNES or the N64 version of the game. Redout 2 comes out on June 16th, and this could be a sleeper hit for the month. On June 21st, we have a trio of new games hitting the Nintendo Switch, and the first one of these games is actually free, so you don't have to spend any money, and that is Fall Guys. Now, I'll keep it real with you. I played Fall Guys on the PlayStation 4 when it first came out. I played it for like a couple hours and I did not like the game. I could see why people get, you know, hyped into it because you're playing with a bunch of different people online. You're all trying to win, you know, it's sort of, you know, one of those wacky TV shows where there's a bunch of people trying to do, you know, like an obstacle course. But to me, the problem with Fall Guys is the game just feels sluggish as hell. And for a game that's sort of built around physics and momentum, it never really clicked with me well. You know, I might check out the Switch version of the game just because it's free. You know, you had to buy Fall Guys if you weren't a PlayStation Now member back in the day, or a PlayStation Plus, I should say. So I don't know, Fall Guys, check it out. I guess it's a free game. Also on June 21st, Shadowrun Trilogy is hitting the Nintendo Switch, and honestly, these are kind of cool games. If you're a fan of games like, you know, Cyberpunk and whatnot, I think these are really good games because these were like the precursor for them, you know, that sort of futuristic, cyber-based, you know, dystopian world setting that, of course, Cyberpunk came along and did. These were the games that sort of started that whole revolution of that genre, I feel. You know, obviously you're not getting the same graphical style of a game like Cyberpunk with these, but you know, if you're a fan of that sort of gameplay style and you're a fan of that game sort of setting, I think these could be really solid titles to check out. Shadowrun Trilogy, June 21st. And the final game on June 21st is actually a game that I was waiting for the Switch version because I was like, I'm just going to buy that. But unfortunately, it took too long. They never gave an update for it until I actually saw this. So I went ahead and picked it up on the PlayStation 5. And that game is Wreckfest. Now, I will say, I love this game. I think this game is so much fun. If you remember Destruction Derby from back in the day on the PlayStation 1, and actually that came out on the N64 as well, Wreckfest is essentially that and more, I feel. I've been playing the PlayStation 5 version of this game, like I said, and it's just so much fun, especially when you have a steering wheel, because you just feel like an absolute hoodlum, and you're ramming into people, and people are ramming into you. It's just chaotic. It's absolutely chaotic, and it's absolutely so much fun. If you don't own another console, Wreckfest is a game that I would keep my eye on June 21st, because it's just stupid fun. On June 23rd, the Sonic Origins collection is hitting the Nintendo Switch, and this is something I've been keeping my eye on. Now, obviously, these are somewhat enhanced versions of the original Sonic games. Sonic 1, 2, 3, you also have Sonic and Knuckles as well, and Sonic CD for the Sega CD, which is a criminally underrated game, and I really enjoy it. Great soundtrack as well. But the concern with Sonic Origins is the fact that we haven't seen what the supposed new stuff is beyond things like widescreen for these games, and the whole Sonic 3 controversy with the soundtrack of the game, because obviously this was a soundtrack worked on by Michael Jackson, and a lot of people are saying that it seems like this is actually going to be a redone soundtrack. I hope if it is a redone soundtrack that it's at least redone in the same style of the music, because I think that's very important, but it remains to be seen. I feel like Sega, as much as I love them, can definitely mess up a surefire home run, and this is a surefire home run, so I don't know, man. I'm just a little hesitant towards it, but I will be checking out Sonic Origins when it hits on June 23rd. On June 24th, we have two games coming out that I definitely want to spotlight. The first being the Capcom Fighting Collection. Now, Capcom fighters are great. Putting them in a collection is great, but putting Darkstalkers on the Nintendo Switch is amazing. Like, if you've ever seen the character Morrigan, like, that's from Darkstalkers. That's one of Capcom's most iconic characters, at least in my opinion, especially from the 90s era, because of the fact that, well, it was a very sort of different fighting character than what you were seeing at that time. So I'm definitely looking forward to this collection. Of course, you have the museum stuff. You have stuff like online play for these games as well. A very solid collection. I'm glad that Capcom is realizing, hey, we used to have really good games back in the day. We still have good games now, but there's a lot of people that want to play our old games on modern platforms, and this is a great way to do it. Capcom Fighting Collection comes out on June 24th. Also on June 24th, we have another first-party Nintendo game with Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes. Now, I think this game looks pretty cool, honestly, because I am a fan of the warrior style of gameplay. I used to really like strategy RPGs back in the day. I used to actually play the original Fire Emblem titles that released in North America on the Game Boy Advance, but since then, you know, my strategy RPG love has sort of fallen out of place a little bit. I feel I did enjoy what I played of Three Hopes. I never finished it though. It wasn't enough to sort of grab me into the world, but I love the Warriors games and that whole gameplay style. So I think this game will be, pretty fun. Will I end up playing it? I might wait for a price drop on it just because I'm not the biggest, Three Houses fan. So a lot of these characters don't really resonate with me, but I do know a lot of Nintendo fans are big fans of that game. So awesome. This should be a really fun game. Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes also on June 24th. And on June 30th, we kind of have, I don't know, maybe you'd call this an asterisk because both of these are DLC, but I feel like these are important DLC, so we are going to highlight them. The first DLC that's releasing on June 30th is Cuphead and the Delicious Last Course. Now, this, of course, is the fabled Cuphead DLC that supposedly was coming a very, very long time ago and it never did, but it's finally coming now. And that's cool. More Cuphead is always good. And now what that means is we can actually get physical copies of Cuphead, since the developer said that they wanted to wait until the DLC released before releasing the game physically. So that's probably the more important thing to me out of this, is the fact that Cuphead will be getting a physical copy of the game. If you've never played Cuphead, yes, it's tough as nails, but it's sort of based on memorization and patterns. So if you're an old school gamer from the NES, Super NES era, it's really just something that is difficult, but it's not a frustrating difficult, I feel, because of the fact that it really boils down to you know what you need to do. It's just, can you actually do it? Can your brain and your fingers link up? Cuphead in the delicious last course on June 30th, and also on June 30th is Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak. And I mean, this is pretty much DLC, but it's like DLC kind of ramped up. Like, you obviously have a ton of new content added into this game, new monsters, new environments, new everything in this game. So it's almost like an expansion pack like you used to see back in the PC days, where it really opens up the game even more so. So is it really fair to call it a DLC? I sort of view this more as an expansion pack just because of how massive it is. Monster Hunter Rise is a fantastic game. I loved all of my 60+ hours playing that game, so I might jump back into it with Sunbreak and see what they've added into it. Sunbreak comes out on June 30th. Alrighty, so like I said, there's a lot of bangers coming out in the month of June. Obviously, beyond that, we have stuff like new stuff being added to Nintendo Switch Online. We know that Pokemon Snap is supposedly coming to the N64 in the month of June. You also have the whole fact that there's going to be a June Nintendo Direct. There's going to be stealth drops during that. There's going to be new game announcements. So it's a very exciting time. Video games have been a bit dry the first half of the year, but I feel like the second half is when things really ramp up and we're really going to start having a lot of fun. So let me know in the comments section down below which of these games you plan on picking up. If I missed any games, be sure to let me know in the comments down below as well. Help out your fellow man and woman. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button, like, comment, share, turn on the bell notification as well. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Later.